Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video we're going to be talking about why Season 4 is just kind of bad. We're not just going to sit here and trash it. We're going to go into why and give some reasons and some thoughts and try to provide some nuance to it. But overall, I think most people have been just kind of disappointed with it, and let's think about why that might be. Now, let's start off first on the other side of things. Let's Steelman the other side of this. This is still better than nothing. For 20 years or whatever until Shadowlands, Forever expansion, there was always this huge amount of dead time between expansions. Having a new season with gear to grind, with a new dungeon pool, albeit old dungeons from the season, some newness, right, is better than nothing in theory. And I do kind of agree with that still. I definitely agree with it in Shadowlands, and I still agree with it that it's better than nothing. That's a very low bar to set, but that was the bar that was set for over a decade, right? Is that you're just really, really bored with nothing to do before the next expansion. So I'm not sitting here saying that it shouldn't exist at all. Let's just talk about why it kind of feels bad and why it's bad. Let's list another real quick positive. They did try something new with the dungeon squish thing that's going to be heading into the War Within, where now Mythic Zeros are a little harder. Mythic Plus starts at what the old 10 would be, and that's like a +2 or whatever it would be. I don't know exactly what their conversion rate is, but the numbers got squished down. Difficulty remained relatively the same. And so that was like a little experiment that they're doing. They made heroics harder, stuff like that. That's cool. That's something to do in this kind of season, and that's fine. But however, there has been generally a lack of love for this season as far as tuning and stuff like that goes, right? I think everybody's pretty much aware of that. That was also the case in the Shadowlands season for the most part as well. But that kind of sets you up on the biggest reason why I think that this one is, it's not being hated on, because there's like mop remix to do, Cata Classics out if you're into that. There's other things to do in WoW, plus in summer there's things to do outside, all kinds of different reasons why that people might not be angry about it, which is a good thing, by the way. I don't think it's something to be angry about, but are expressing why it's kind of bad. And with that lack of tuning, you think back to the Shadowlands one. Well, why was the Shadowlands one seem so overwhelmingly positive? And that's because it was like a labor of love, right? So if you don't know, the Shadowlands final season that they added in was kind of like a brainchild of one or two devs or whatever. And they're like, hey, can we do this while they wait for the next expansion? And they kind of threw it together, did their best, and it was actually pretty cool, especially for a first time thing, right? And most of all, though, and the most important thing is that it was a labor of love, and that you could tell that if you didn't know that only one or two devs were working on it, or a handful of devs, whatever, at all, then I guess you might think that it wasn't a labor of love or a lot of effort. But what it was is, in all reality, was a lot of effort by a very small group of people to kind of give the player something. And you kind of could feel that, like, okay, we're responding to feedback. There's communication, even if there's not a ton of tuning. We're communicating. I'm doing all the tuning that I can do, that I can handle, right? It's like this singular dev, and I'm joking with singular dev. There may have been more than one, but it was a very small amount of people, and you could tell they're kind of doing their best. Whereas with the Dragonflight one, they kind of took what worked from the Shadowlands one and copy pasted it. They got rid of the affixes because people complained about the affixes in their raids, and kind of just like copy pasted the old stuff, put it with this. Had a little bit more polish on it than the Shadowlands one, because this is the second time they did it. Not, I'm not saying it was polished, because there were still bugs when it first came out, with the bullions or whatever, and a few other things as well. But it was more polished than the Shadowlands version, because it was just one guy trying to do everything, and they just kind of like set it and forget it, and it just didn't. There's no labor of love. There's no passion behind this season. There's no like devs really wanting to make players happy for this, because to be fair, it's not that the devs don't want the players to be happy. They're worried about us being happy in the War Within, and so that's kind of what they are worried about. And just kind of threw this together, and here you go, have fun. I guess, right? And for me, at least, I can kind of feel the difference between those two things. So, as someone who is super positive about the Shadowland season, even though ultimately ended up being a huge headache for me, stepping down as officer ultimately because I was also dealing with some stuff with my mom going to be passing away. Like this isn't new. My mom passed away now a year and a half ago, um, and that that was this final season was like months ahead of that, but I was dealing with that process, right? And I stepped down as officer because there's tons of negative things as well with that season, but still overwhelmingly, I still was very positive about it despite all that because like again, I could just tell that it was a labor of love. So like despite I had every reason to be negative in my own personal life, and like even if I was just a lone hater, right? I had every reason to be, but I was still like, no, this is actually, I could tell they're doing their best. They're trying to do something fun for us. And, maybe this could mean better things in the future. Now, unfortunately, we get here to Dragonflight, which has also been kind of like a labor of love expansion where they've tried to do a lot of positive changes for players and have succeeded with that, doing lots of positive changes that players have wanted, and making the game better as a whole throughout Dragonflight. But then we get to this final season again. It just doesn't feel. It doesn't feel like negative necessarily towards players. It just feels like that they just slapped the Shadowlands thing, the most basic thing they could together to give us, a grind to do before the expansion comes out, the War Within comes out. I think ultimately that is what people are feeling. You feel that with like less communication than was in the past, right? In the Shadowlands one, there was a lot of communication because they're like, "Oh, I'm trying to work on this for you guys. I'll get it fixed for you." And this one's kind of like almost radio silence because I don't know that anybody's actually working on it. It doesn't seem like it. Not at least consistently. I think that they might be on Mop Remix or something like that. Um, and that might be a part of the issue too, right? You have people on Mop Remix, you have some people playing Catted Classic, and you might not have as many people even playing the game as you did in the Shadowlands final season. They're still might be playing the game, but they're not playing like the retail season 4 Awakened season, and instead finding other things to do. And so I think that's part of the reason too why it might feel a little bit worse. And because like honestly, what's more fun for me to do right now? I could farm Aspect Crests to upgrade my gear because I'm 519. If I farm my Aspect Crest, I'm probably gonna get up to like 524 or something like that, 523. And I could do that, or I could log on Mop Remix and go absolutely destroy, do millions and millions of DPS and have fun playing that. And so for me, that has been my choice has been to do that. And now tomorrow, I'm recording this, day before the beta comes out. Tomorrow, I'm going to be on the beta. What's going to be more fun for me? Well, more fun for me is going to be, learning everything I can about Ret Paladin, heading into the War Within, the hero talents, exploring anything that I can explore that's open to explore, and all that kind of stuff. That's what's going to be what's most fun for me. So yeah, I think there's a lack of love in this thing that we had in the Shadowlands one. And what I said before this even came out, when they first announced this season, I said, well, don't worry about it. It does feel lackluster that this is the case, but don't worry, this should be the last one based on their pacing for the next expansions. We're going to basically be going raid the final raid tier is just going to last a month or two more basically. So instead, like at the most, right? So instead of maybe 6 months, the final raid tier is going to last 7 months or something like that. And then we're going to go right into another expansion. And so we're not going to have to worry about this with their release schedule. And I assume they're going to stick to that release schedule because, that's more of on the corporate end than the dev end. They're going to force them to, even if they're not ready. Obviously, I don't think they would ship a completely broken product. But of course, it is corporate, so they would ship a somewhat broken product, if we're just being honest there. But I think they're going to try to stick to that release schedule, in which case we're not going to really have to worry about ever having one of these faded season, awakened seasons, or ever at the end of expansion again. And so, yeah, this one definitely went out with a whimper and has not been very good. There's just too many other more fun things to do. They should have just made this more fun. Like Aspect Crest should be raining from the sky. Like for this season in particular, right? There's no cutting edge. Even if I don't think you can get AOTC still, but even if you can, who cares? Like like I don't understand why they didn't just make it fun, right? Have this just be fun going in the War Within. Everybody should just get Aspect Crest. You should get Aspect Crest from doing World Quests. Like let everybody just be powerful and have fun. Like for this season, it doesn't matter. There's no ranked competition behind it. Like the world race to world first. Just let people have fun, man. And that's what I think they dropped the ball on that for this. And if they ever had another uh, lull of content, maybe something big happens to where they had to postpone expansion. We have another faded season or whatever, right? Just let us have fun during it. There's nothing competitive about it. There's nothing whatever about it. Just let us have fun because otherwise we're gonna just go do something else that is fun, and that's fine too, right? And they might say, well, that's fine, but why can't we just have fun doing this? Because if I could get Aspect Crest, I might play it all on this. I definitely would max out my gear on my main character and stuff like that. So that would kind of be my thing. I don't think it's not really that opinion or that thought isn't really worth much because I don't think it's going to happen again in the future, at least not in the near future. And so it's just probably pointless to even speculate about. But at the end of the day, just have it be more fun. If I could go get Aspect Crest by doing like fairly easy content, and maybe that unlocks after like 1 month or something, right? Then I would probably be playing this more than I was Mop Remix. But instead, I'm playing Mop Remix because my character is Omega Strong. And it's just fun to be super strong, especially when you're just goofing around having fun. So I think ultimately all those kinds of things that we just talked about are kind of like the ruination of why so many of us, you might be having fun with this, but why so many of us are kind of not having fun with season 4 on retail Dragonflight. But it is what it is, and hopefully it doesn't matter going forward. So my only feedback, I always like to give feedback. I hate talking crap without offering solutions. I think that's so lazy. I hate people that just like whine and whine and whine and don't offer a solution. And my solution would be to make it all about fun. And I'm being like super serious here. Make it all about fun. If you ever have to do a faded season again, make it about fun. Everybody gets good gear. Everybody can upgrade that gear. It's not hard to play alts. It's super easy to play alts. Much easier to play alts than every other normal season. Even if you make it super easy with warbands to play alts, make it even easier for the faded season, right? And I think that's kind of where they dropped the ball here. And that's kind of like my last feedback on it. So as always, I do ask you to subscribe to the channel because that helps me out a lot. If you are already subscribed to the channel, I have a Patreon that I just started. You can check out the link in the description below. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.